Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's edition of the afternoon edition. My name is Isa Nu. Today, we shall be focusing on building the nations, and the focus majorly, to be specific today, will be the power of data strategies. And in the digital age, data has emerged as the currency of progress, and nations around the world are increasingly recognizing its significance in shaping their future. From optimizing public services to driving economic growth, data strategies have become indispensable tools for nation-building efforts. In today's program, we will delve into the transformative potential of data strategies and their pivotal role in shaping the future of our nations. One of the fundamental aspects of nation building is making informed decisions that positively impact the citizens' lives. And data strategies play a crucial role with regards to providing decision makers with valuable insights into various aspects of society, economy, and governance. By harnessing data analytics and visualization techniques, policymakers can gain a deeper understanding of societal trends, identifying emerging challenges, and devise effective strategies to address them. For instance, healthcare systems can leverage data analytics to track diseases, outbreak, allocate resources efficiently, and improve healthcare delivery. Similarly, urban planners can utilize data to optimize transportation system, enhance infrastructure development, and create more livable cities. By integrating data-driven decision-making into governance frameworks, nations can foster greater transparency, accountability, and responsiveness to citizens' needs. Recently, the National Identity Management Commission stated that banks are to issue new GMPC national identity card to all applicants. And amongst the list of things that they are going to do is that the new national ID card is a single, convenient, and general multipurpose card, GMPC, eliminating the need for multiple cards, not three. The single GMPC has multiple use cases and payment, financial, government intervention services, travel, etc. And the National Identity Management Commission is working with the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System (NISS) to deliver the payment and financial use cases. The card will be powered by the Afrigo card scheme and an indigenous scheme powered by NIBSS. Applicant for the card will have to request with their NIN through the self-service online portal, NIMC offices, or their respective banks. And the card will be issued through the applicant's respective banks in line with the existing protocols with issuance of the debit and credit cards. The card can be picked up by holders at the designated center or delivered to the applicants at the requested location at an extra cost to be borne by the applicants. In discussing this today will be our guest, Mohammed Taufik Hamza. Mohammed Taufik Hamza is a consultant based in the United Kingdom and is deeply passionate about leveraging data to address real-world challenges. Popularly known as Tip Top Hamza, he serves as the director of Tip Top Hamza Limited, an educational company, of which he also leads in that particular company. The Rookie Analyst, a data analysis and bioinformatics platform. Tip Top Hamza was a ICT support analyst at Green Climate Fund, South Korea, with 7 years of experience across several industries. He has a BSc in agriculture from the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria and an MSc in applied bioscience from the Kyungpoong National University, where he was also a researcher. He was a vendor experience analyst at Jumia Nigeria, and he was also responsible for analyzing orders and implementing SLAs. Also, as a sales and marketing supervisor at Organge Groups Limited, he developed strategies that revived markets and drove sales growth in Kaduna. He is also a co-founder of Youth Making a Difference Foundation, an organization that engages youth locally to make global impact. So all this will be coming in terms of the conversation with him just after this break.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of Aso Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, Aso Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back from the mild break, and just before the break I did inform that we'll be having Mohammed Hamza joining us from his location. Mohammed, good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon edition.
Yeah, good afternoon, Isanu.
Yeah, it's nice having you today on the afternoon edition, and I know for some time you've been a major pusher for the issue of how we can use data to build our society, and I've seen several of your works with respect to how you try to also impact this knowledge on citizens for them to get equipped with these skills in order for them to also build a better micro society for themselves. But generally, what's your idea about data in managing the society and how to build a nation?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sanil, for that insightful question, actually. So before I start, I would like to mention that data, it's actually not what many people think about it. Data is way more than what people think about. So in my past 3 years of teaching data analytics to youths, and then I've noticed that most people think of data as just collection of informations. And some will even refer to data as just the internet subscription that they have on their phone. So someone once reached out to me and was like, hey, TikTok, can you send me some data? I was like, hey, I don't sell data. I only teach, or I'm a gospel preacher for data analysis. So now let's look at it on the other way around. Data, it's not just collection of informations or facts. It is the new oil. And a lot of countries are already leveraging data in order to drive the economy. And I know you may be wondering, what exactly can data do for the economy? So before I tell you what exactly data can do for the economy, so let's look at the tale of the old monument in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. So several years ago, the monument in Ahmadu Bello University was destroyed and was replaced with a beautiful one. But there was an outcry in the public because the old one has lasted for about 4 decades. And everybody feels it's synonymous to Ahmadu Bello University. So despite the beauty of the new monument that was in Ahmadu Bello University, the public does not really like what is there. So what did the management do? The management set up a committee, which was led by the amiable Professor Nafi Abdu of Department of Soil Science. So they made a decision for them to return the old monument back. But that decision was not just a decision that is out of the box. What they did was actually they leveraged what is called data. And what they did was simply to make use of the survey technique, which is the survey monkey technique, by collecting surveys of stakeholders within and outside the universities as regards their as regards their take, whether they really want it back or not. Surprisingly, 94.2% of the respondents want the old monument back, and in addition, they also were willing to contribute to that. That is the power of data. And the strategy starts from the data collection, and then they make the informed decisions. So when you pick that simple scenario and you translate it into a bigger world, then you start talking about the national data strategy, which Nigeria has adopted in 2022 under the amiable leadership of Professor Ali Fantani. So you could see that data itself, it's way more than what we are actually seeing it as. And in the next years, the need for data analysis is going to increase. Informed decisions that are going to be made as a result of data is also going to increase. And in fact, World Bank has already said that the data and an effective data strategy is integral to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal, which is due by 2030, just a couple of years away from us. And also McKinsey in their survey has also realized that companies that utilize data are guaranteed to have about 20% more profit. So this highlights the importance of data at a micro level and at a macro level. But now let's think about it in terms of building the nation. When we look at the insecurities, for instance, insecurity is one of the major challenges we have in Nigeria. But data itself can be used to curb insecurity. We could use it to fight crime. Assuming we have a robust database for all locations, or let's pick for Kaduna State, for instance, or Abuja, and then all crimes are being logged in this database, and we have our police intelligence there. So by analyzing this data, we could identify what crimes in particular are occurring in a particular region, and then at what hours of the day is it occurring, and then we can make an informed decisions. We can come up with a strategy to curb that kind of the crime that we have already identified. Imagine if we have kidnapping in a particular location, and on the other side we have people snatching mobile phones, for instance. So we could make use of the data we've collected of all these reports that have already been logged in the database. Those data can be analyzed, and then we could have a kind of a target intervention towards that particular crime in that particular region. And that brings me to the call to action, which is the need for us to have a robust database. The problem is not really the fact that the data are not there, but the data are fragmented and they are not easily accessible. So it is important to have this data, to have a national platform where we could have these data, and then some of this data should be able to be, we should be able to access this data and make informed decisions from it. So that's just a bit as regards what data can do for nation building. And I know you have a couple of more questions, and then we'll be able to dive deeper into the specifics and then the strategies or the frameworks that we can employ in order to make data the next oil of Nigeria, and most importantly, to address a variety of issues that drive across healthcare management, agricultural productivity, educational planning, and even disaster management and response.
Because I have series of questions here for you. I know that over time, you've been a specialist in this particular field, and I'm happy with the kind of introduction you're able to put out there for even those who are not specialists in this particular field will definitely have an inkling of what we are discussing in detail. But let me quickly bring you to this particular issue. You know, before now, just like you rightly mentioned, we have the Nigerian Data Protection Bureau, which was put in place in 2022 under the past administration. And then we have the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation Board, which is also in place. And if you remember also, we also have the Nigerian Galaxy backbone, which is the home for the data that we also consume here. In terms of, they also give out data, even presently where the station is being hosted, we make use of that particular data to run some of our activities here. But now, if you look at the way the nation is being governed, right from onset, you start thinking, just like you've rightly stated, that we have this information, but we have them in substratum, not in whole sum. So now that you know that we have this particular challenge facing us as a nation, how can we harmonize the whole of this data? Because you mentioned something very, very key, that data now is the new crude oil for us to generate more income. And I also remember that during the time of the former Minister of Information and Digital Technology, so much was generated from that ministry, and which also helped the government to carry out some of its activities. So how can we bring up all this data in place in such a way that it will be beneficial for the nation growth?
Yeah. So thank you so much for that critical question. And if we are to be honest, with the current situation of Nigeria with respect to the utilization of data, that is the biggest problem that we are having, which is the consolidation of this data. And then consolidate in such a way that we're going to have this accurate information. Take, for instance, now, Nigeria is one of the global leading leaders in production of cassava. But when we say we are one of the leading country producing cassava, it's just based on estimates. We do not have the exact number that is actually produced per second, per month, per year, and then even for a decade. So for we to be able to harmonize this data, there's this simple approach that probably you must have heard of, which is the cascade approach. So the cascade approach, just think of it as a pyramid. And a pyramid, you know, the apex is just like this. So the apex is short and then it comes this way. The base is expanded. So when we make use of a cascade approach, where we're going to have every industry or every sectors, they are going to have their own data strategies, and they are going to have their own database to collect these data. And these data that are being collected are going to be accurate. And when I mean accurate information, are going to be data that are in real time. So once these data are being collected, and then we'll be able to channel it to the national, for instance, the National Bureau of Statistics. Let's assume they're going to be the apex, they are going to be the prime database source for Nigerian data strategy. So all other sectors who have already collected their data can log in this data into the database. And while we are collecting data, something I really want to mention about is data privacy. So data privacy is also very, very important, because when you collect, there are some data that shouldn't be open, and there are those that should be open. So we should be able to have one database where we're going to have a open data. And if you look at countries like Kenya, they're already thinking in that direction of having an open data where people could just go in and get open data. And here in the UK, if you go to the government website like the gov.uk website now, you could download the data set of, let's say, all companies that issue sponsorship. So let's assume that you're looking for a job in the UK, and then you're wondering, or maybe you're wondering what countries should you apply to. You could just go to the website and you could download an Excel or a CSV in the CSV format of all the companies that are registered with CAC and they are registered with the UK government and have the license to issue a sponsorship. So that is a consolidated data. And a lot of data that you need in the UK, you can already get it on the gov.uk website. So at the same time, if you kind of think of it in that direction, we have a national database, let's call it data bank. So we have a data bank where all our data are deposited and also classified based on the privacy. For instance, if it is criminal data, those should be classified, because if it's not classified, then it could lead to breach and security. So that should be data that is going to be accessible only by intelligence and with clearance. But when we talk about data like outputs of agricultural produce, of let's say granite in Kano State and all other states, it should be deposited. But how this data is going to be collected is going to be gradually, or is going to be kind of fragmented from the industries or sectors that are in concern. Now, when we look at the importance of this having a harmonized database, the importance cannot be far-fetched. One of the major importance is this. Let's think of it in agriculture. So in agriculture right now, about 50% of yield of loss that farmers are having is as a result of post-harvest loss, which is just theoretical, right? So now imagine that we have a tracking system that tracks the output that all our farmers have, all the data that farmers already generated. We have that being tracked up to the point of sale, and we know how much of those produce are actually exported outside Nigeria, how much are consumed. So now when we know how much is consumed, we can be able to relate the consumption rates, production rates, and export rates. If a particular produce is expensive, it's probably due to the reason that there's more of that produce that is going out for export because farmers want to make money. Then that is going to give an informed decision, and policy is going to be made around that to encourage local consumption, and automatically the price is going to go down. Also, in terms of the prices, it could be maybe as a result of the process, maybe storage, or even the chemicals that are using. And once we have those data, we'll be able to say, okay, fine, let's improve this process. And one of the ways of improving the process, we could think of it that, okay, the chemicals that they're using are imported, is expensive. Governments can start investing in chemical fertilizers. They can set up a company, subsidize it, and at the end of the day, the economy is going to survive, it's going to be stable, and consistently we'll be able to generate more income, more jobs. And when you look at it right now, a couple of months ago, about 8 months ago, I was working on a project and I needed to assess the number of Nigerians that have passed through the National Youth Service Corps, the NYSC in Nigeria, for the past 10 years. I searched stuff, but I could not find it, right? So those kind of data are supposed to be available. And then by the time we know that these are the number of Nigerians that have graduated and have served, now every school, let me give you this example now. I'm an alumni of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, right? And let's say we have other people from other universities. If Ahmadu Bello University Zaria have the exact data of actual number of all the students that have graduated per department, per year, per set for the last 10 years, and they have that in a database, that is localized, yeah? And we have other universities, they all have that, and they deposited that to the NUC, for instance. And NUC will have a data of all those students that have passed. So taking NUC to be the apex, that is an example of the cascade approach. So now you can just go to the NUC, and you can download that data set, and you can filter by the number of graduates over there. Now, considering the NUC are in charge of regulating those that work for the NYC and what have you, you can be able to see how many people are actually graduating and how many are actually serving Nigeria, which is their country. If the number is low, then we can investigate as to why. Is it that their age is above that and then there's an exemption? Or is it the fact that some people just don't know the importance? And if it's that they don't know the importance, then we're going to increase our awareness, right? And at the same time, it's going to help to improve the NYC system itself. The NYC alone has the potential to transform Nigeria employment beyond our doubts, because it's compulsory. Imagine as an agricultural student, all agricultural students are just placed to the farm where a farm that is owned by Nigerians, for them to actually practicalize, to produce this food. And this food that is being produced is now being sold as subsidized to the local governments in which they actually serve. So you can imagine how that kind of strategy will work. For instance, now, 10 years ago, there's a program we call FPT. I was the editor of the Agro Digest magazine, and I wrote an article about it. And I've been trying to write a publication also about it to publish to increase more and awareness. So there's a program called the FPT, which is the field practical training, where we go to the farm at 400 level to 500 level. We're going to cultivate crops and we're going to rear animals ourselves from beginning to the end. We do that and then we give the yield back and then we are graded. So imagine that kind of scheme now is now what is now being used for the NYC program, or even a larger program where we could have internship. Countries these days, if you go to the UK, Canada, Australia, there's apprenticeship these days. From BSc, from high school, you could just go for an apprenticeship, or from BSc, you can go for an apprenticeship for 3 years. And after the apprenticeship, you have your degree. But the apprenticeship is actually practical because they already identify the shortage occupation. They already know. If you just Google now shortage occupation in UK, Australia, they will tell you that these are the occupations that are being shut off. And then they are driving, releasing funds, giving grants, giving scholarship based on those courses or based on those jobs. And before you know it, over time, you're going to have experts in those fields, and then they'll be able to cover for that shortage. So that is the same thing we're trying to talk about when we have the national database. Not just about having the database itself, but actually using it to strategically solve the issues that we have, which is majorly unemployment. And believe in me, data is something that can be applied in anything. I've recorded my sleeping pattern for 6 months. The time I sleep, the time I wake. I have it in an Excel sheet and I have a time trend. And I've been able to use that data to actually determine how long I sleep. Is there a need for me to sleep more?
Let me quickly come in here. Let me quickly come in here. Because you've said so much, and you've also painted a picture of what it should be and how it should be. Looking at what you've stated earlier, the issue of having unsynchronized data now, for instance, you mentioned the NYS, that's National Youth Service Corps, responsible for the youth service in the country, and how they also distribute their activities in terms of you going to decide to get information on the numbers of persons that we are able to pass through the service. But then, sometimes you also understand that there are some of these agencies who actually have this data, but they don't have it on their website. Is it a thing of concern? Or probably maybe they are also giving it to the National Galaxy backbone?
Definitely a concern. Like I said, not having the data is one thing. Making the data accessible is another thing. Protecting the data is also another thing. And most importantly, using that data is important thing. You can see, for instance, now, a company could have a data and then the data is just lying out there. It's just historic data. So if data is there and then you are not making it accessible for people to use, then the data is as good as just a data. You can't make an informed decision on a raw data. For instance, there's a popular saying by Sherlock Holmes, which says that data. I can't make bricks without clay. So we, in that vein, we can make informed decision. We can build the nation without having accessible data that we can use to make an informed decisions.
So in your own understanding now, you are expecting the government to put up a policy to see that, yes, all the MDAs, the ministries, the departments, the agencies come up with most of their activities on their website so that it can be accessible to all across the globe.
Exactly. It should be accessible, and also it should be classified. So the government should be able to identify that these are the kind of data that could bridge security in the country, or that I try to, let's classify it, not readily available, but it should be on the website that this data is available. And if you need it, then you're going to request for it, and then there's going to be an intelligence team to vet that you need that particular data. Then there are some data that should be open sourced. So there are some data that should be available already on the database, where people could just go into the data, download. Like I just made instance of the shortage occupation list in UK. You can just walk up to the government. You can just walk up into the government website, download you can just download the occupations, like the job that are in demand in the UK. and then you can just download it. And also, you can even download the companies that give sponsorship. So that's because they know that this data is needed. In fact, it could prevent scam. Imagine if there's a company that is just luring people, that is giving fake jobs or collecting money before they give jobs, and they are not even licensed or they're not even registered. How would a citizen like me know? A common citizen know? But if it's already on the website, one could just go into that place, download this data set, and look it up, and let's see how, or to verify the information, and also to see what is about it. And that's where digital literacy comes. And that's why I really have to commend the effort of the NITDA with respect to digital literacy. So, but Nigeria is populated, and their effort is not really noticed by a lot, but they're really doing a great work because they have a lot of courses available on Coursera for free. All you need to do is just to apply, and then once you're selected, you learn. And they've also partnered with Microsoft. And at the same time, you also have the data science of Nigeria. So I've been following all the trend, and those are the two notable ones that I've been doing a lot of free data courses at a large level. And those are the inspiration that led to me founding the Rookie Analyst, in order to join the work, to join the pace setters, for us to have that digital literacy, for people to know how to use data.
I would like to come in here, Mr. Hamza. I would like to come in here because you've said so much, and one major issue that you said that is of interest to me, and I believe is also of interest to our audience, is that you said data is like the new oil wealth. But then I would like you to expatiate on that, but that will be just after this break.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of Aso Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, Aso Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back from that break, and just before the break, we have been discussing with Mohammed Taufik Hamza from his base in South Northampton, United Kingdom, discussing issues that has to do with nation building and how we can use data strategies to build our nation is one key aspect, because so many of our leaders are bereft of ideas because they don't know what the data speak about. And as a result of that, there's that strong need for the national data bank, which he has stated. But I also understand that, yes, the Galaxy Backbone for some time now have been able to do so much with respect to data. And I also remember that the former Minister of Information and Digital Economy did stated that they've put up so much data in such a way that even bandits can be tracked. But then still the question is, how do we make use of this data to the benefit of the nation? How do we structure it in such a way that we can easily access information of where we are going to, have prior knowledge of the activities in those places? And just like he has rightly stated, the issue of agriculture, are we actually making good use of data to determine or to forecast the future of our agriculture? But one key aspect that he has raised, which is a thing of concern, is the issue that data is the new oil wealth. Now we are not talking about the Arab money, as they used to say, fondly called it in the past, due to the wealth they get from oil. Now he's saying that data is the new oil wealth. But then how can we put this into actual policy implementation? So let me quickly get back to Mr. Hamza. Mr. Hamza, welcome back from the short break. So before the break, I did inform you that you said that data is now the new Arab money, if I should use that term. So how do we get to harness the best from it in such a way that we can use it to build our nation? We have so much of infrastructural decay in the country, and we need so much of infrastructure, be it in health, be it in agriculture, be it in every facet of the economy. We need so much money to run the nation. So how do we make use of this data money to develop the country?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And it's actually a tough one, but here's an analogy for us. So now the analogy that the new crude oil is data. It refers to the great importance of data in today's world. And when you mirror the historical significance of crude oil in industrial revolution, then you could agree with the following 4 buckets breakdown that I actually think of, which is 1, valuable resources. Just like crude oil fueled industrial growth, data is now essential for powering innovation and economic development across sectors. Secondly, crude oil needs processing. If we don't process our crude oil, we're not going to have our fuel, our kerosene, and what have you. The same thing with the data. So the raw data is just like crude oil. It needs to be refined. It needs to be analyzed to unlock its true value. It involves the processes like data cleaning, data transformation, and even data visualizations. And it is in this place where the digital literacy is important, because when you even when we eventually have the data available and we don't have enough people to be able to make use of this data, that knows how to make use of this data, then the data will just be lying there. Right now we have a lot of raw data. We even have data that we don't even know exist. Just like we have crude oils in places that we don't even know that they exist, unless when we go there and then we'll be able to identify, oh, there's a crude oil, there's a resources here. So that's that. At the same time, it is renewable. So data itself can constantly be generated. I gave instance of the tale of the monument in Ahmadu Bello University. So there was no data available, there was no any existing data, but all they need to do was just to create a simple survey. And there's a lot of websites that you can use to create a survey. Google Forms, Microsoft, Tally, SurveyMonkey, a lot of them. I can mention like 20, for instance. And you could collect those data, and that was the data that was collected for them to make that informed decision. So, and then it drives the economy, which is the 4th part. So, yeah, still on the 3rd part in terms of the renewable, it's potentially renewable resources on its own, just as we have crude oil. And the last one, which is the most important one to answer, to cap the question, is it drives the economy. Data is becoming the core driver of economic activity, with businesses across the industries relying on data-driven insights for decision-making, marketing, product development. Just as rich countries in crude oil have significant economic power, those with strong data infrastructure and capabilities are poised for economic advantage. Take, for instance, South Korea. South Korea actually did well in terms of managing COVID, simply because they already have a system, they already have a strategy for the data. So when they say this, they're backing up with a value. When they say that, they are backing up with a value, because they have that data, it's already integrated, it's already in the system. Yeah.
Okay, let me quickly come in with this particular aspect of it. If you look at it, despite the fact that we have this data, but then they are unsynchronized for now, as expected, or how it should be, we still have this situation whereby citizens still feel a bit reserved in giving out data. Do you think the government has done enough to make the citizens support this process of them having enough data in their national data bank?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. In the last couple of years, the government is actually trying their best to ensure data privacy, right? And it's part of the core framework of the national data strategy that was developed in 2022 to ensure that these data are not just secure and also they are private. And this could probably be one of the reasons why some of these data are not synchronized or readily available. But I think one of the most important things in order to make this data to make it easy for citizens to be able to give this data is when there is a system that they can trust. So if I'm giving you a data, before I even give you a data, the one you have already, how well have we utilized it? And if we're actually utilizing it, are we creating awareness about the availability of that data and how much we've used it? Because, for instance, now there's a lot the Nigerian government have probably done, and then the citizens, we don't blow our trumpets. That's the word. We don't blow our trumpets as a country, and it's even affects us globally because it's easy for you to just go to the Google to search for something about Nigeria. Now it's easy for you to really see the fallacious assertions that people will cook up, which are negative about a country, than the actual positive. Take, for instance, now when you have Nigerians abroad, Nigerian diaspora, for instance, you can, in almost all countries, there are Nigerians that are really, really making impact in that country. For instance, now in my alma mater in South Korea, we have one of the students with the highest number of applications is a Nigerian. He's a Nigerian, and is even one of the top 500 populations in Nigeria. So now, but we really don't have those data. We don't blow our trumpets. So once we blow our trumpet, the citizens, we know that yes, we can trust this. We can trust the government. And at the same time, the system. Do we have a system in place? If there's a system that I can trust, then automatically I will trust you with information. For instance, from a patient now, when you go to the NCBI website, you can already download data sets concerning any diseases. I'm also a bioinformatician. I do bioinformatic analysis, and one of the first places I go to is the NCBI website, which is US government. You can go and download data about real-time data about cancer, and then you can analyze it and you make a predictions using prediction modeling as regards novel biomarkers, which is being used by pharmaceutical companies to develop anti-cancer drug. Like one of the publications I had was about breast cancer, and then what we did was to test tetracyclic oxide, which has the potential to treat breast cancer. So now, okay,
let me quickly come in here. Let me quickly come in, Mohammed. If you can listen, we just have just a minute to round up the program. But I just want to ask you: should data availability be about generating revenue, or policy making, or both? Just for you to round up in 1 minute, please.
Yeah, it should be about both. They are just like two sides of the same coin, because the goal of we utilizing data is to ensure that we have a sustainable economy. And we can't have a sustainable economy if we don't generate income. And we can't be able to generate income if we don't have policies that is guiding it. Yeah.
That's good. Thank you so much, Mohammed Amza Taufik, for joining us from your base in United Kingdom. It's nice having you. I've always watched you on Facebook, trying to give Nigerians the best in terms of how they can make use of data, and also teaching them new skills for them to better their lives. And definitely we are very, very appreciative of this, your effort.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Isanu. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. Tip Top Amza is the popular name we call him on Facebook, and always putting smiles on faces of the young ones who wants to learn the skills of data analytics. And I'm very good man there speaking and very passionate about Nigeria and the growth of the country, and always ready to deliver his best for the nation. This is how far we can go today discussing the issue of data strategies in building our nation. It's very, very important that we have data, and he has rightly stated it very clear that sometimes when you go to some of our ministries, departments and agencies website, you hardly find out very good information or data about their activities, which is not the best, because the website gives you an opening to the world and for people to be able to access you and then make judgment and probably do one or two